She's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Karis' Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and we are here again, Zooming. It's okay. It's fine. It's all good. World's not coming to an end. It's fine. We'll just wait to get back into the studio. But in the meantime, we have a great guest today. Very excited. But before we get started, got to thank our sponsors. First sponsor is Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all of your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with any type of a flyer. They can help you design that. They can help you with your social media. They can help you analyze the demographics of your business. And they are experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, hollywoodgreeks.com, to find out where all your Greek entertainment is, HellenicFestivals.org. Find out where there is a Greek festival near you. And even though there haven't been the traditional Greek festivals, a lot of the churches have been doing takeout. So check out the website. They'll let you know. Also, our other sponsor, Select Flex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's also called an insert, and you put it in your shoe. Why do you need that? Because you need it for your feet, your back, your ankles, your whole alignment, your hips. It supports your feet to all the way up to the back of your neck. Let me tell you something. These are the best orthotics that are over the counter. Better than the other kind. I won't mention it, but it rhymes with Dr. Knowles. These have an adjustability in the arch where you can adjust the arch to firm, or extra, extra firm, depending on what your needs are. I do not work out without these. I do not walk around New York City without these. These are fantastic. If you're on your feet, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to have a pair of these. They are affordable. They are well made. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there is a 25% discount. Go to the website, selectflex.com, selectflex.com, and type in the code FAMILY25, FAMILY 25. You get a 25% discount. There's a 30-second video on there. It shows you exactly how it works. It is fantastic. I always say the best invention since suitcase on wheels. All right. I am very excited. We have a great guest tonight. Let me tell you something. When I use the word simpatico, I mean, this could not be any more in sync with my experience, my professional experience in life. And the most interesting thing is that we were Facebook friends. I saw that they had just published a book. And as I was looking at what the book was about, I find out that the person is a CPA, worked for a big firm, worked in corporate America, is a comedian. And I'm like, I have to have you on because me too. And just this afternoon, so we had spoke. He sent me a copy of the book, which was fantastic, a fantastic read. And then I was looking for a business card, a specific business card, and I have them. I'm very old school about a lot of things. And you know what? I'm proud of that. I have a landline, get used to it. Used to have like index cards in it, but I keep my business cards in it. And I like to take a business card because then I write down on the card where I met that person from. And let me tell you, it's come in handy. And it was yesterday, and I was looking through this, and all of a sudden, I come up with this card, okay? This card, okay, is of my guest. And I'm thinking the whole time, I've never met him before, and oh my God, he's a CPA, and oh my God, whatever. And then I'm like, is this the same guy? And then I'm saying the office background or whatever, and anyway, and then I just, a couple hours ago, I was like, did we meet? Have we met? And he said, yes. And he remembered. He went to his spreadsheet. I mean, that was like music to my ears. That was like Beethoven, okay? And so anyway, I was like, are you available tonight? And here he is. So without further ado, please give it up for my guest, CPA, stand-up comedian, speaker, author, John Garrett.
Hey, thank you so much, Ellen. That's awesome. That's the greatest intro ever. And I forgot all about that card, the back of that card. I mean, I haven't used that business card in so long. But yeah, but in 2011 is when we met. Yeah. You did a show at a theater in Connecticut.
Seven Angels Theater, Waterbury, Connecticut. I love that place. I've gone, I go there, I want to say like every year or every other year, or, 1 year they'll have it twice or whatever. It's just a beautiful theater. It's so much fun. And 2011, and what's funny? Sometimes in my spreadsheet, so I always write, I have the spreadsheets by year, and then we're listed all my shows, and then of course the money that I made, because those are our books and records. Okay,
exactly.
Okay, but I don't know what you do at the end of the year if you don't have a spreadsheet, especially.
Tell me about it. Makes it so much easier.
An artist. And so, but sometimes I write who I worked with, and sometimes I don't. So I actually didn't do a search, but because once you told me that, I remembered the show. Yeah. But oh my God, that is hilarious. That is just so funny. So thank you so much for squeezing me in tonight at the last.
Of course. No, I'm excited to be a part of this. So that's awesome.
So now, where do you live?
So I live in Denver now. I was in New York City for almost 10 years, but about 3 years ago moved to Denver. And
for what reason?
It's the opposite of New York. It's quiet.
I gotta tell you something right now. That's a good reason.
That's a very good reason. But it's quiet. Like the sun is out all the time. There's no humidity. But actually, so my brother and his family had been here for several years, and then met my now wife, who lived here also. And so both of those are pretty good reasons. But Denver's pretty great city. It's got all the major sports, major theater, major concerts, but it's still a medium-sized city. So it's without all that hassle and what have you that comes with bigger cities. And
when you bake, you have to bake at a different temperature because of the altitude. Not that I'm a baker, I just remember reading it on the box of Duncan Hines. So
exactly.
So that's what I know about high altitude.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic place though. That's for sure.
Well, we don't ski anymore. We don't do anything fun anymore. But we do have fun. And really enjoy life and embrace it. We did go skiing out west.
Sure.
And I've been to Breckenridge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Fabulous and beautiful. Yeah. And then we wound up doing Salt Lake City and a whole bunch of times, which it was actually a little easier, obviously, to get to from New York. Yeah. But I did do a Greek show in Denver as well. They have a decent Greek population, and I think they have like a Greek school, and I did a fundraiser. They were very nice people. I mean, I didn't stay long. I kind of went the night before and did the thing, and the next night, and then I was out. But anyway, very beautiful city for sure. But you are originally from Connecticut? Are you originally?
No. My dad was in the Air Force, so I'm kind of from everywhere. So I grew up mostly Midwest, East Coast. We lived 2 years in the Azores. They're islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So we did 6th and 7th grade was when we lived there.
Wow.
And
where is that exactly? You said in the middle of
So it's straight over from New York City to Portugal is a straight line. And it's about 2/3 the way away from New York and 1/3 from Portugal. So it's where Christopher Columbus would stop on his way to the New World. Was the Azores. So it's the middle of nowhere.
Let me tell you something. Already this is educational. People know about baking and Christopher Columbus.
People are like, I thought this was going to be funny. I'm not learning. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, this is ridiculous.
Wow, that's so interesting. So like I'm a native New Yorker, so for people like us, it's hard to move.
Yeah. So, like you didn't know people lived other places. Like what?
It's just like we're not that flexible. I mean, I don't speak for everybody, but I'll just speak for the people that I know. We're not that flexible, so we don't do well in other environments for a long period of time. So I think that it's good when you move around.
Plus, it's like, when you meet someone who has a house, you're like, where do you get all your furniture? Like, where's all this space? Like, what do you do with all this?
What about a kitchen where you can both stand in? I mean, nothing pisses my husband off more than if I come in the kitchen when he's in the kitchen.
Oh, I remember my first apartment in Astoria. Like one of the drawers you couldn't open because they had gotten a new oven that
Right.
stuck out beyond the counter. And so the drawer would only open like 3 inches. So it's where we slid the menus in there just because
You
it
were,
was like,
I mean, you should, it's like I charged up the credit card and I maxed out. Like, really? Really?
right.
You're in here and I'm peeling an orange? Really?
Right? Exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But all right, so that's good. Yeah, so I got a little confused too because I know on Facebook you wrote Denver, and anyway,
Right.
It all come together now.
There you go. But I was in Brooklyn for almost 10 years after,
Okay. So
Astoria at first.
Yeah.
And then that's when the New York Times did the story on me moving there, which was pretty cool. And how some of the comedians that were in Astoria had helped me get to the city, find a place to live, things like that. And it was crazy. My first Sunday in New York City was New York Times Sunday edition story. And right as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is not good. Because comedians have been there for decades and got no press. I'm there 4 days and I'm Sunday Times. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Dave Attell came and hunted you down, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's why it was like, it was pretty cool. Though.
Wow, that's really amazing. So tell us a little about your professional journey and all the. I mean, I read. First of all, everybody, this book it's called "What's Your And?" A-N-D with the and sign.
Sure, the ampersand there, yeah.
And it's all about ampersand. Thank you.
Yeah,
and it's all so much. The theme is about being you, and like it's okay. We all have to pay the bills and have jobs, and we went to school and we trained for things and we got degrees and like. And I mean, you were like so speaking my language. It was incredible. But that it's okay and you should, and why to have interests outside of work, and also sort of like the book is for the employers and the employees, but also for the employers to like give permission to the people that they hire to be able to express what they like to do other than prepare financial statements or do a report or
whatever your white collar nerd job is,
whatever specimen to the lab, whatever that is. And and I so resonated with that because I went to school, I got my accounting degree, I got a CPA, and then I went to graduate school, I got an MBA, so I worked in public accounting, and I worked on Wall Street in one of the large firms. And when I was with one of the large firms was when I decided, the investment banking firm, was when I decided that I wanted to, I started off just taking an improv class because our world was so black and white, this equals this equals that. Nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. And half of my brain works that way. The other half works this way, which is why I don't really do anything very well. I just do
right.
So, it's true. And so it was so interesting because I took an improv class. I loved it. I'm just going to make this real quick because this is about you. But I took the improv class, which morphed into an acting class, which morphed into more acting classes, which morphed into a teacher telling me that I thought I was a stand-up, which led me to go and take a class at the comic strip and, on and on. And for the longest time, I don't want to tell anybody what I was doing. Like, I felt like a stripper, okay? I felt dirty when I came in the morning. I felt like I had dollar bills in my cleavage. It was crazy. I was embarrassed. And, like slowly but surely, like you knew who to tell and who to confide in. But what was happening was that when you're a comic, as you know, especially in New York City, we have a whole, what they call bringer show environment. So, you'd go, you do the open mics, which is you pay $5, you get a drink, and then you go up, you do your 5 minutes. They have that for music and all kinds of different things in the arts. But then you want to start kind of going to a show with audience, and you have to bring audience. And it's like, okay, you can be on my show, you could do 10 minutes, but you got to bring 5 people. Well,
Right.
where am I going to poach the people? I mean,
Right.
we got some friends, casual friends.
Yeah, but they're not coming every show.
They're not coming every show. You got family. Now, if it's my family, we're Greek. So I was a complete putana, okay? I went completely off the rails. So nobody was supporting me that way.
No,
So I wasn't getting, meanwhile, I had like a million cousins and they're like,
right.
I don't
No.
think so. I don't think so. And don't embarrass the family. It's like,
Right.
really? Should we talk about some of the stuff you've done? But okay,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So we started going to the office and poaching people there. And, it was very hard, especially when you're doing something in the beginning, in the humble beginnings.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not good at it.
No one ever is.
Right. And then I'd come in like, with the, almost like with the sunglasses and the hat.
Yeah, exactly.
So there were so many things that you said, about that. But that was quite a while ago. And this is kind of before social media, or as social media, started to, I mean, there was internet, but not like, Instagram and Facebook. And so, things have become a little more loosey-goosey even in the corporate environment. I mean, I started working, like, I wore a suit. Like,
Oh, sure. Yeah, me too.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, I want to get to you. And so what sort of, like, give us your your big professional journey, because you did more than public accounting.
Yeah. So I graduated from University of Notre Dame and then started at PricewaterhouseCoopers. And then I was in a rotational program through a lot of the advisory services. So not tax, basically, for everyone listening. So don't ask me any tax questions because I don't know. Right. And then settled into, did a lot of merger acquisition stuff, internal audit things. I was on the largest financial services client that PwC had, which was pretty awesome. And then, just started a little bit of a hobby of doing stand-up. I was at a training in LA, and at the time, Whose Line Is It Anyway was huge. And they would tape on Thursdays in studio, and they would go down to the Improv on Melrose in Hollywood, and they would do a 45-minute uncensored show, and before and after was a showcase. So kind of like in New York, where the show is 3 hours long, and in the middle was 45 minutes of Whose Line, which was, I mean, I'm just a regular person. Like, this is amazing. I mean, we're hanging out, and I mean, Drew Carey and like Brad Sherwood are sitting at the table right next to us, and then they go up on stage, and then after we can hang out and talk with them, and then the other comedians, and so that was the first time I saw stand-up live. We had David Spade come to Notre Dame one year, but I don't really consider that. Yes, it was stand-up, but he was an SNL guy, and he was more of a movie star than known as a stand-up comedian, especially at that time. And so the first time seeing it like for real, and you realize, oh, they don't laugh all the time, or sometimes the jokes aren't good, or whatever. And so the couple of friends of mine that because it was a 4-week training, and so we would rent a car from Pasadena and go down every Thursday, and it was just so cool to see that. And like one night Adam Sandler came in at the very end, and just like people were like, what, this is amazing. And so I talked to somebody, and they're like, yeah, you just go up and do it, record it. And then, cause my friends were like, oh, you could totally do this. And I was like, well, yeah, I could suck as bad as that guy just did. I mean, and like I lived in St. Louis at the time. So like, this isn't even, LA. And so just kind of did comedy at night just for fun. Did a little comedy sports, which is like the improv short form as well. But then at some point you realize that they're very similar, but then they definitely diverge between improv and stand-up. They're very different when you really get down to the nitty-gritty of it. But at first, it was really good. It was just stage time and getting my reps and getting comfortable in front of audiences and thinking on my feet.
I mean, we get this question all the time, so I'm going to ask. I mean, were you the funny guy in the office? Were you funny growing up? Were you?
So I mean, like I grew up, my dad was in the military, so we moved a lot. And so I found that everybody likes, jokes. I mean, I love jokes, out of a joke book. And as a kid, I mean, you just have a couple of jokes and I mean, I guess I had a good sense of humor. I could roll with the punches, I mean, but I wasn't by no means was the class clown or anything like that. I mean, actually when I graduated high school, I was valedictorian. So I mean, but I definitely was funny and the group of friends that I hung out with were definitely very funny and clever and creative people. But as far as class clown needing attention, I was never that, and I'm still not that person. I mean, even when I lived in New York and people wanted to write spec scripts, I was never even in my own spec script, where most comedians, they're the star of the show and everyone else barely even has any speaking lines. And, I wasn't even in my own show. So, it's just that's just the way I'm built. And it's just different like that.
I definitely was not a class. I don't even think anybody knew my name, for God's sakes.
Right.
But I wasn't shy. I definitely was not. I was very animated, and I do love to tell stories. And
there you go.
That definitely was more part of it. I mean, I love to laugh, and then. I grew up watching all the, Mary Tyler Moore and Carol.
Oh, yeah.
These ladies on TV. I watched a lot of sitcoms. I always say my parents put me in front of the TV for so long that I'm surprised. Like now child services would come and take me away because that was the babysitter and the sibling and everything.
And the role models and everything.
The minute I woke up, they were so happy that I just was quiet and I was watching that. Whatever it was. And back then, there was nothing racy, so it was okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But it's but then I got to high school. I was pretty good at algebra and advanced algebra, and I loved I was better at math than I was at science.
Yeah.
And it was like a puzzle to me. And I actually I took Spanish for 2 years, and then the third year was option. You just had to do 2 years, and I really didn't want to do 2 years of Spanish, and because I feel like I know Greek, so that's like enough.
Right, exactly.
and of course, if you're ordering coffee in a diner, it's fantastic. So they had a bookkeeping course, and I was like, I'm gonna take this, and it was just like I could have done it in my sleep.
Oh yeah, well, especially from advanced algebra. I mean, golly, yeah.
But there were, not everybody got it.
Well, your brain has to work that way.
I just loved the whole debit. Oh my God, it balances. And but I did have an uncle, my mother's brother, who became a CPA, and he actually worked for Pricewaterhouse in tax, and he was doing really well. Really well for not doing it for too long, and then ultimately he went out on his own and he worked like an animal, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying he did really well. And I also liked business, and I found business. I knew I wanted to work in Manhattan. I knew I wanted to work in Midtown or downtown. I knew I wanted to work for a big corporation and stuff. So like that I had in mind. And then the second year I took bookkeeping 2, which was like the accounting, and it was so natural to me. And then college, which of course was a lot of some of the other courses like cost accounting and are very much more intense. But at least when the easy part, I just breezed through. So I liked it, and then I got a job at a school. And I just kind of went on my merry way, and I did public. And although, as you and I know, the hours are like insane. And in your book, you talk about chargeable hours and billable hours. And I'm laughing, and I'm just like, oh my God, if you haven't worked in that environment, lawyers know about that too.
Yeah, lawyers. There's some engineering firms like that, and architects.
Well, now it's online, of course, but they are checking your timesheets, and you've got to. They want to see
every 6-minute block, and it's like you hired an adult that's well educated and is really good at what they do. Why are you treating them like a toddler?
They bill out the client, and so I got I got all that. Then anyway, like I said, and I went on my merry way for quite a while, and then I got my graduate degree, and I worked in derivatives, and I did all these things that were the polar opposite. But like you, there was something in me that I needed to express myself. Maybe it was too much. Stringent.
Yin and the yang. Yeah, I mean, just a little bit creative, something that's fun and an outlet. And it was also a challenge, though, for me.
Very much. And were you good at public speaking because I was not, and it was like one of the things that I feared, and I felt like that would make me better at it if I force myself to go on stage.
And that's what the whole What's Your And is about is, there's expertise that's had from these hobbies and outside of work interests. So, I mean, you doing stand-up made you better when you had to give a presentation at work because you're exercising that muscle outside, at night when you're doing your shows that all of a sudden when somebody comes up to you at work and is like, hey, we have to give this presentation. And I don't care if it's 10 people or 50 people or 100 people, it's like, you're ready to go. Because you can do that. For me, it wasn't, I had done some speaking before, so I wasn't really fazed by that. Plus, I was in the marching band in college, so I was used to being in front of audiences and things, of that nature but I don't have to be the spotlight and the center of attention. But, I always approached comedy as the audience is here for a break. Like, their life sucks. Like, whatever it is, life is not the way you wanted it to turn out. And so you're here for the hour and a half or whatever it is to get away from that and laugh and have some fun and just forget, and if I could be a small piece of that, then I think that's really important. And that's the way I always approached it. I didn't have an agenda or a message, or there's absolutely nothing political I have to say because half the audience is going to not know what I'm talking about. And then the other half's going to get angry. And so it serves no purpose. So it was more just silly, clean observational stuff. And oftentimes being the office guy, learned a lot from Conan, watching him. He wicked smart, tall, skinny, highly educated white male. Like, what's wrong with you? Like why, and so, he nerds it up a little bit, so when I get on stage and I open up with I'm a CPA and do jokes about that. And then after you beat yourself up enough, then you can turn the guns on everybody else, because then it's like, all right, and because then, everybody starts to feel like, that they get to know who you are and that nothing's coming from a mean place. It's all just innocent fun. So,
you said something, being you're, this tall white male, and I'm only mentioning this, especially in sort of like the environment, and believe me, we're not going to get intense here, but just because of the environment that we're in, and there's these, you're this, if you're that, and if you look like this, you're that, and it's just like, I'm very fatigued about it. Okay.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I'm on the treat people like a human being, treat people like respect. I'm done with it. I'm also a very big accountability person from being an accountant. We're all responsible for our own behavior. And yes, some people get.
No, totally. But the problem is that right as soon as you step on stage, within milliseconds, the audience is judging you. What you look like, what you sound like, what you're wearing. Like, they're judging you from the millisecond you step on stage.
And what you just said, so whether it's the media, whether it's some people's formed an opinion, that if you're a white male, you've got it made, and which is like, that is like a ridiculous thing to say. You don't know somebody's struggles. You don't know where they came from.
No, totally.
By the way, maybe their parents are darker and they just happen to come out there, like, you don't know, maybe they're adopted. I don't know. It's like, stop thinking. Stop thinking that you know everything about this person. It's like insane.
No, it's exactly it. It's exactly it. Yeah.
It does give us this, and especially more for your genre, gives you an opportunity to be like, okay, now you're judging. Now you're judging, and let me tell you what this is like.
That's exactly why, like, I would play up, that I was a CPA and I would do a little bit of the stereotype, just kind of poke fun at it and what have you. But then, that was only maybe a couple of minutes up front. And then there's the rest of the set. And then at the end, I'm like, so good luck telling your friends that you just laughed your ass off at an accountant. So, because, and just to remind you that, like, what you thought is not right. And, and that's what, the book is about as well. What you think you're supposed to be in the office is only a fraction of what you actually are supposed to. You're supposed to be you, and like you have other dimensions to who you are, and bring that, and share that and talk about it. Because it's really cool. I mean, your coworkers that came to your comedy shows, I'm sure were like, wow, that's freaking awesome. Like that's way more guts than I would ever have.
Right. For stand-up. And by the way, in your book, it's not about being an accountant and then becoming a stand-up. You interview all these people, you get quotes from all these different people. It could be, and again, you and I wound up moving and making it a profession. We're not talking about that. It could be, a sports enthusiast of some point, a painter, you like to Zumba on Wednesday nights,
there you go. That's,
and
exactly.
that's so just so everybody knows when to buy the book and read the book, this is for everybody, that it really like highlights that we need more of that. We need, and it also helps with just, I think, I mean, and I'm not being dramatic, but like humanity, because you learn about each other a little bit. And you don't have to get into people's business, and but it just makes it like, it just brings it down a little bit, because it could get very intense and very stodgy. And there are going to be times when it's just business, man. It's just business.
Oh yeah.
We got this thing going on. We don't have time to schmooze, blah, blah. And that's fine. But it's really good to, to bring something personal. And I love how you use several examples about how people wound up getting jobs because they revealed the things that they like to do when they're not, their head isn't down in a desk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, my resume at the bottom, the last 2 lines are Big Brothers, Big Sisters, because I was very involved in that. And then professional stand-up comedian. And every interview I would go on, we'd spend about 5 minutes on all the crap above that I thought was so important. And then the next 25 minutes on those last 2 lines.
Right.
And, and so it's just so cool that people are around each other more waking hours than they are their family, at work. So you want to be around people that you can be with, you can talk with. They're normal people that you can spend time with. And, it is important you get your work done, but these people are working so they can live, and the sooner we all admit that, the better it is for literally everyone involved. And so, just having these outside of work interests and their hobbies, do not make the leap. It's crazy. I mean, it's so hard. It is so hard. And so it's a hobby, it's just something. And that's the thing that I found too, is people are reluctant to call themselves a comedian or call themselves a painter or a runner or a mountain climber, whatever your thing is, because, well, someone's done it better than me. So then the real phrase is, I enjoy doing comedy. Are you good? Who cares? I enjoy it. I enjoy running. Are you a slow runner? Probably. Who cares? I enjoy it. And that's really what it's about, is what do you enjoy? What lights you up? Like what brings fire, and that passion and that energy. And if you're able to talk about that in the office, then it's just going to make the office environment so much more positive.
Right. And more interesting. I do have to admit, being a woman in a always male dominated industry, right? Accounting.
Yeah. Well, investment banking for sure.
Right. Investment banking, Wall Street. Yeah. And now stand-up comedy.
Right.
But more, I'm more referring to when I worked in in an office, a little bit more of an office environment. I was always a little jealous because the guys would come in Monday morning. Hey, did you see the Jet game? Did you see the Giant game? Did you see the Cab? There's a lot of male bonding sports. I'm just stating.
No, that's an example of this.
I'm just stating it.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested anymore for other reasons, because now sports is like watching CNN. So it's like, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I'm done. I really don't want to hear what you have to say. I just don't. Okay. So I got a lot of choices. That's my view. But when everybody just kind of went out and did their thing, then I would watch football on Sunday, and I'd watch like the big games and this and that. But I still wasn't as versed, obviously. Plus, some guys actually played that sport, and then I didn't go to a college that like a Notre Dame. Like I know, first of all, I know many Notre Damers, alum, and my cousin, actually my cousin is married to one.
Okay.
And she didn't realize that it was a requirement to have half of her home decorated in Notre Dame regalia, you know? She didn't know that the welcome mat had to say Notre Dame, and there had to be a room just dedicated.
Well, and when you step on the welcome mat, it plays the victory march as well. So then we can,
There's a statue of, loophole.
Right.
She didn't realize there was going to be a fountain in her backyard. But anyway,
right.
So I know that's really, and you guys, even if you don't know each other from school or you're years apart, there's a bonding. So there was
for sure.
All of that. So I was always, again, I wasn't mad. There's nothing I could do about it, but it was something that I had something like that to sort of make me connect. And a lot of the guys too golfed. And I really did, they formed friendships by golfing together. And again, nothing wrong. It's fantastic. I'm not, this is.
No, that's an example of, but there are so many other examples.
Right. Yeah. And I remember I was like, I'm never going to get ahead. I can't do that. But, I think the point I'm trying to make is to find something though, just because it's man, woman, or different interests, find something. And I do have to say, when you're a woman and you in an office and you say you're a stand-up comedian, it makes you a guy. Like all of a sudden. People start to ask questions. They start to, but the only way that you can find out, other people that also enjoy comedy fans, is by sharing it. Right. Like if you don't share that, you'll never know. I was speaking at a firm retreat. They had like an all staff event, and there's like 300 people from like a couple different offices. And so I'm speaking, and I was like, so who thinks they have the most boring their most boring outside of work hobby? And a lady raised her hand. I was like, oh really? What is it? She said, genealogy. And another lady from the other side of the room yells, that's not boring. I do it too. And they sat 4 cubicles away from each other for years. And I was like, what have you been talking about? Like the weather? Like what? It's just so crazy that we don't bring up what we actually enjoy doing with our free time, which is what we legit actually enjoy doing, because you're not getting paid. Not for nothing, but, when we are at these traditional jobs, we are acting like, because we're faking.
Yes, exactly.
That the report agrees. Like we're faking,
Right. Yeah, no, it's like I'm acting like what a lawyer is supposed to be. This is what a lawyer is. And it's like, what are you from dumb?
I will say, I'm very, so I was an auditor. I do get a charge when I find a mistake. So I still, I do.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm good at description because I've found a lot of found a lot of money in my time, not my own, but other people.
Yeah, other people.
So that was okay, but listen, there's some stuff that you just want to, listen. I could say to you, pension accounting, defined benefit plan, right?
No, okay. No. You can do that. I'm sick that week. Right. Like it's.
I'm gagging already. So I think that it's very. It just brings something else to the table. And again, it's like you need that break too.
Oh yeah, you definitely need that break. And a study that was done at Duke University found that people that have other dimensions to their lives besides just work and all work, and then some people it's work and then family, and then that's it. And it's like, but there's more there. There's more to who you are if you let it happen. But people that have more dimensions, this study done at Duke University found that it's less anxiety and less depression. March hit and everyone started with the quarantine and the lockdown and things like that. If you didn't have an outside of work interest, you were like really struggling because work was with you all the time because it's right there on your kitchen table or in your second bedroom, spare office, whatever, you can't escape it. It's always there. And so if you didn't have these other interests or something to go do or something to talk about or somebody to Zoom with on a deeper level, then, it's just all work all the time and you're just going to burn out. Everybody knows that study's true. Just the more work you do, the less productive you actually are. And so,
I,
it's mental
I
health
think,
wellness.
yeah, I think it's, again, I think it's gotten better as opposed to the I'm sorry, I keep like adjusting my shirt. Because I don't want to be the old lady like in the supermarket with the wash strap, but obviously I am, and I'm not going to go change my shirt because we're in the middle of this and it's great. And most people are going to watch the audio, except on YouTube where I'm adjusting my shirt.
Well, this is the one where everyone's going to go to the video and be like, wait, what's she talking about?
Right, exactly. There's nothing here, trust me. Trust me. But as far as the COVID thing, I think there's a few things. Do you have children? So you said you got married.
I don't, but my brother lives here in Denver, and he and his wife have 3 kids.
Okay, so
and they're both working from home and kids, and yeah, I'm just cool Uncle John.
Yeah. So and I'm an aunt. So you and I, we're gonna speak, but the people that are real parents are gonna be like, oh yeah, right. But I mean,
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
They do, and then listen. Some people, all they have time for is to work and to take, take care of their families, and I empathize with that. But even with all of that, you do have to find something for you. And I have a lot of friends that are mothers, and over the years and stuff like that. And at some point they will break, and they have to find just some little something to have their own little time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be every week or even every month. Twice a year I set time aside to do this. And the thing that's been really cool, I wrote the book clearly more for professionals and people that have corporate jobs, but people that have read the book that are teachers or even parents where their kids are getting ready to go to college or just went to college, they're like, this resonated with them so much in their little moms group, like in the book club, because a lot of these moms have kids that have just gone away. And so now it's the first time that they're not running all over Kingdom Come, doing sports and all kinds of activities for their kids. It's like, well, what's for you? And, and if you nurture that along the way, then it's easier to remember what it is that you used to love to go do.
Right. Yeah. You got to find that time. And, listen, being a mom, if you're, first of all, I always used to say this, and I will say this forever. I don't know how some of these women had children and had kids, and I realized, and the husband, of course, not to take away from what they do as well. But for some reason, again, I think there's certain things in our life that will never change. So, I think women are wired a certain way. Men are, for the most part, wired a certain way. A little bit. And I think, for some reason, the burden seems to fall on the mother, maybe a little bit more for whatever the reason is. And again, I know it's gotten better, but I used to watch these women, they'll come in earlier. They've got to coordinate with the mother-in-law or the babysitter or the nanny and drop them off. It's really hard. And then they have no time, to do that thing. But I think what I love about your book, because it really, like, it's for everybody. It's not just for us, but it's like you can do something as simple as take a pen and a pad and just start writing, start journaling, whatever, just something else other than that mechanical-ish thing that you do.
And something that lights you up, something that makes you happy. And that's the thing. And what's cool is you're getting expertise from that can make your job better. And you're also becoming more human and adding other dimensions to who you are to create those connections when you are at work. Because who else has other outside of work interests is other coworkers and clients if you're in that kind of an industry, and so your job is very similar to what everyone else is. Like, I'm a lawyer. Oh, well, great. So is everyone else, what kind of law, like, unless you invented something or, there's a handful of people that are way savant, on some kind of professional level. But for the 99.9% of us, we're all just really good at what we do. And, that doesn't make us stand out at all. But what does is, you worked in investment banking. That's crazy hard to work there. Was everyone there? Like, they're all pretty much the same. They're all investment bankers. All right, great. And so, but you were an investment banker and a comedian. Like, not very many people were doing stand-up comedy at the same time. So that's your differentiator. And for some reason, we always want to hide that and we want to leave it outside. Right. And it's like, no, lean in on that. Like, shine a light on that, because that's what's going to make you remembered. Otherwise you're just another investment banker along with the other thousands of them.
I definitely, in my life, when I've said I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA, whatever, it's like, oh, CPA is obviously has some more panache than just saying
right.
accountant, so I became like you, CPA early, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I was a CPA at a young age. And so I would say that, because that's like saying being a lawyer. And it's about prestige and your ego
right.
and feeling good and being accepted and all that. And it's also, it becomes a huge part of your identity. It's who you are. People go, the first thing after your name, it's like, where do you live? What do you do?
Yeah.
But, and so because that is prestigious in society, it was like, oh, wow, that's something.
Yeah.
But the reaction later on, and also because I quit 12 years ago, my finance job.
Oh, okay.
So when I started to say, because that was it, I was like, I'm a comedian. It's a different kind of a reaction. It's like, wow, like, first of all, they think, wow, you must be a lot of fun, and that's
right.
And it's almost, it's just weird, but it's like you're a little bit of a celebrity, because what we do, people generally either see the person on stage live or they see it on TV, or it's really interesting. And then, as time goes on and then you wind up opening, like you said, something about Drew Carey. I got to open for him, and
oh, nice. Yeah.
Jimmy Walker, who I used to watch on Good Times.
Right. Exactly.
You wind up having, and that was actually another point I was going to try to make, again, relating to your book, is that, if I didn't take that plunge and do what I did, I never would have had those experiences. So, and I'm not saying, like you said, I'm not saying find this hobby, you're passionate about it, and then quit your job. Okay. I was able to do that. And I'm not going to tell you it was easy by any stretch of the imagination. And it still isn't. And now with this is like, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but there are no live performances. So anyway,
right. It's brutal.
But I didn't ever want to say I didn't try. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to be the extreme that I went to, obviously, but just in general, you should never regret and want to say, I didn't try it. I didn't give it a shot. I didn't.
But you just do it for fun, and that's, it's what lights you up. Am I good at it? No, but who cares? It's, it's what lights me up. It's fun. And like what you said, when people ask you, what do you do? Like, that's where I want it to become normal for someone to say, hey, well, I'm a CPA and a comedian, and I like to paint, because no one has any follow-up questions on, oh, really, a CPA? Tell me more. Nobody's ever said that ever in the history of ever. Even if it's another CPA, they're like, okay, like, we're done. And, but
I'm sorry, what FASB are we up to?
Exactly. Like, no one cares.
By the way, nobody's going to know that but you and I. But anyway,
exactly.
I don't understand how funny that is.
But the and is what's interesting. That's where follow-up questions happen. That's where their eyes are like, wait, what? Like, that's awesome. You never hear that to the first part ever in anyone's job, unless you're an astronaut. Like, outside of astronaut, no one's ever gone, that's awesome. Like, nobody.
Well, what's funny, you said astronaut. I always use that as an example. Stand-up comedy is so hard, the business part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Had I wanted to be an astronaut, I already would have gone into space,
Right,
like a Netflix special. Like, that's like how hard it is.
Right. That's exactly it.
That's a great example.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And, and so, but people, there's so many interesting people out there, and, and they're working so then they can make money to go do the other stuff,
right?
And that's the whole reason we do work.
And there's and hey, listen, we all need to, if we can, we're able to, we should all be able to take care of ourselves, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And just go for it. I mean, you just, you live once, as far as I know. So
right.
If anybody knows anything different, they got to prove it to me.
Exactly.
So I need to see the work papers. But
right. There you go.
Again, only something John and I are going to understand.
Right. So, there's a CYA file joke coming here soon.
I know we got a lot. We can do this inside stuff forever. So just tell me, so where are you now? So like, what are you doing? You do a lot of corporate
Yeah.
speaking? You have
So
a
now,
corporate
yeah. So I
office?
left stand up. So in May of '05, I went stand up full time. And then, comedy album Unserious in Pandora, wrote 2 Emmy nominated award shows, like did some cool stuff. And then, about 6 years ago, kind of married those 2 lives together. So now it's speaking at corporate events, executive retreats, all staff meetings, things like that. And then with the book now, it's also consulting of how do we implement this philosophy to make our culture better, to attract and retain talent and clients. And so it's really just working with companies and firms to build a workplace that people want to go to and stay. There's a serious lack of talent. It's at a premium right now. People already have jobs, and even with the COVID dip, once it bounces back, people are going to get rehired immediately. So, and it's expensive to hire people. So how do you, once you hire them, like, how do you keep them and keep them from going somewhere else, and just be genuinely interested in them as people,
or have them be working at the most productive that they can possibly be.
Well, there's that's a whole different dimension to this as well. Absolutely. And, highest and best use of who they are. But, if you don't love them, then they'll find someone that does. Right. And it's the place right down the street. They don't even have to look hard. It's on the internet now. So, it's just care about your people. But it's amazing. Some of the stories in the research I've done, like there was an organization, a firm in Philadelphia where a guy was going to quit, and he's like, I want to go I like to brew beer at home. I want to go and try and get some microbreweries as clients. And they're like, you know what? Fine. Just knock yourself out. See what you can do. They're now the #1 firm for microbreweries in Philadelphia. And so it's like, that guy loves going to work every day because he's going to hang out with the coolest people he knows. And, and then they love him because he knows all the lingo and all the inside scoop and why they're making the beer this way. And, and so somebody like me, if I go in there, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And, whatever. Yeah, sure. I can do the accounting side of it, but so can everyone else. So, it's what's that differentiator, and lean into that. Don't hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how are you represented? Do people just seek you out? Is it word of mouth?
Yeah. So, there are there are some speakers bureaus that have me listed on their roster. But that's the same as comedy agents, where I didn't even know you were a thing. Okay. And then, they get a cut. and right. So, yeah, but it's also direct, and a lot of it's word of mouth, after working with a place or speaking for a company, then they're like, oh, wow, you got to get John Garrett. Because that's the cool thing is not only do I have this unique concept that no one's really talking about of building your culture from the outside in, but it's also, I can carry the audience. Like I have the funny. I've been on stage over 2,000 times. Like I've got the chops, I can, and it's funny, it's engaging, people want to listen. And then they're accidentally learning at the same time. So that's cool, is where it's kind of that combination of being funny, but also having substance and being able to bring it. So yeah. So
are you doing a lot of things via Zoom now? Is that what's sort of happening?
Yeah, and I hate it. Like I really do. It's exhausting, because we bring so much energy and so much of us to it, and then we need it back. Right. And so if people are all muted and I can't even see them, right, then it's just like, oh man, I'm exhausted after this. Like it's emotionally and physically and mentally draining, and also too, like I've worked so hard to move away from being just the funny guy. Like I'm actually like kind of smart and have these unique ideas that can make your company better. But now people are like, we just need funny. Like we just need a break. Like, can you just come and make us laugh for a little bit?
Right.
Yeah, sure. You can talk about your smart stuff, 5 minutes, but we really need laughs. And it's like, oh my gosh, really? Okay. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
But
I did a Zoom show. It was just like a small family that they were like, it was like after the first week of COVID and lockdown, and they were going nuts.
Yeah. So already in a week.
Already,
oh,
right?
Man.
Like, we're gonna, we're having dinner catered and want to do some entertainment. They had like a magician before me and whatever.
Okay.
It was my first Zoom thing, and it was so awkward, and they're actually, my connection was okay. Their connection was horrible, but there's nothing I could do with their connection.
No, exactly.
And then it was like, it was just, I don't know, there's about 15 of them. You see the dog was walking by.
Like in front of the camera.
In front of the camera. People have their feet up. It's like, okay. I mean, it was so gross. It was just so gross.
Yeah.
But I just, we've been doing this for so long. I just turned my switch on. I just bum, and then that was, and then the second time I did it, I was like, okay, this is not normal. This is definitely different. And then it was definitely better. And then I did like someone's baby shower, and they were great. And I can hear the laughs and stuff. I did a couple corporates. As a matter of fact, I have one on Wednesday. I mean, listen, I now I know the rhythm of it, and I also know what to ask. Make sure you have a good connection. Make sure somebody, I can't be the technical person and be the comedian and speaker at the same time. So you got to make sure you handle all that, and there's someone there, and but it's not the same. It's all about energy and seeing people and their eyes and the vibe. We could tell the vibe of the room is the minute that you get on, and all of that. So, but we're doing it.
No, totally.
This thing is over. We're gonna do it.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, that's it. And I mean, it's less of. I mean, I don't do stand up anymore. Or anything even stand up close to that, really. It's the speaking, more keynote speaking type stuff. But we've done so many shows where they're hard and the audience is brutal. And I mean, Dangerfields. I mean, done. Like all you have to say is, I've been on stage at Dangerfields, and there's a special group for you in heaven. Like it's like, I mean, I remember. I mean, it's just. When I was there, and like I said, so I'm dating this girl, and the guy up front's like, why? And he's got his arm around a girl, and I'm like, wait, what? How long have you put up with his crap? Like, what? Like, this is crazy, And so it's just, you've done shows like that you're like, all right, and it's also important to remember that it's weird for the audience too.
Right.
It's weird for them as well. So, and almost the elephant's in the room. So call it out. I mean, why not? Like, this is just weird.
Let me ask you, so I've had this discussion with many people about remote working. So I think that, yes, there will be some people, some companies that'll be like, listen, you're being productive. You can stay home, or what you do doesn't require this. Maybe we don't need enough, we don't need the office space that we had and all this. So some of that dynamic is going to change and is going to hurt New York City. But I definitely think that from the majority of perspective, when, let's say we get the clean bill of health, and I really am very I have faith and that somehow this will get resolved.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it'll be something that's always with us. It's just how deadly it is. It'll be mitigated.
We're not going to shut, the entire country, because it's going to be in the same line as like the flu, which is, by the way, bad. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm just saying. Yeah. We didn't shut down for cancer. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Totally. Yeah. Well, in New York's a different level. I mean,
I don't mean to say that in a horrible place, but it'll just be a little bit more, okay, this is out there, but it's not where it's so contained.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, when we get to that place, whatever that place is, and however we get there. But I think that I feel like at some point, more offices and companies going to be like, okay, it's safe to come in now. We don't need to take your temperature. We don't need to do a swab up your nose. It's time to come in. Because as much as maybe for some people, they're, maybe because they don't have a long commute anymore, so maybe net it's just as productive. But then there's some people that aren't. I mean, my cousin who lives up in Westchester, I won't say the town, but she's like, do you know how many people play tennis on a Tuesday afternoon? I mean, and so, like, I mean, does anybody work here? So I think there's a little bit of that. And also there are people that are very hard workers, don't get me wrong, and they don't like it. they would
Right.
rather be in the office. You know, they don't have
Well,
the interruptions.
it's hard for people that live alone. It's very hard. Or
Yes.
people that are in Manhattan in a 2-bedroom with 4 roommates. And, you know, and then they're climbing all over each other. And it's like, well, you
Right.
can't be productive because our homes weren't built for that.
Right.
Our
What
homes
what
weren't
is it?
designed.
What right and the home is where you go to rest your head from all the
Yeah.
stuff that you've gone through outside.
Yeah.
How is it in Denver? What's the atmosphere there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's still a fair amount of people still do work from home, but it's about a half and half, and they kind of do it on a cycle. So kind of like a WeWork sort of model where, okay, this department is in today, but it's got to be like every other cubicle or something like that in a lot of the offices, or it's maybe like a 25 or 50% capacity. But I do think that, you know, for now, I think that'll be okay. But I do think that people are more productive. Humans are a gathering species. We want to be around other people. We're more productive that way. We're more, I mean, when we're bouncing ideas off of each other, when we're getting energy from another person, you know, like it's just how we are. And so I think for the short term, it'll be that way. But then I think in maybe a year or two is when it'll be back to close to where we were at, you know, pre-March, just because people are more productive and they're better. I mean, they're just, yes, you might be able to say that I'm not spending as much time commuting, so I'm spending more time working, but is the work productive, you know, or is it just spending time working? And those are two different things. And so, you know, I'd rather you know, commute and come in here and really bang out something amazing than stay home and work more hours. And the end product, you know, it's needing to manage output instead of managing time, which, you know, accountants and lawyers right now, their head is just exploded. But, you know, it's not managing your time, because I mean, it's what did you do with that time?
Right.
And you
Quality.
know, and
Right.
yeah, exactly. And to that end, it's also, hey, if you want to go play tennis on a Tuesday at noon, knock yourself out. But you're going to make up for it by working a little bit extra on Tuesday night or on Wednesday, or, you know, whatever it is. So, you know, by Friday, I need this done. So what you do between now and Friday, I don't really care, you know? And so, you know, it's just, but if you realize that people are, you know, slacking some, well, then back the truck up and give them a little more work.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was that guy. I was very efficient. I was very good at what I did all through my corporate career. And so it would drive my managers crazy because they're like, how in the hell can you be laughing and goofing around and then get all your work done? And it's like, well, you know, you don't give me a lot to do. So, you know, I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, it's that easy. You know, and I shouldn't be punished for that. I should be rewarded. But unfortunately, the way it's, you know, well, who's here earliest and who stays late? And well, maybe that person's not good at their job.
Well, you just took the words out of my mouth, because we both worked in an office. And I mean, you know, there were people, they come in at like 7:30. They're having breakfast. They're reading newspaper.
They're not working. They're just there.
They're schmooze. They'll do a little work at this. You go to a meeting. And I am very, when it came to like meetings and even emails, like this is me. This is my emails, whether it's stand up, whether it's, you know, this is the issue. I got a few points, blah, blah, blah. When I see this, you know, it's just
page down. Like,
I shouldn't scroll unless it's like a real document that I need to read.
Right.
And it's just like, people just like to, and if, you know what, if it's that long to explain, then pick up the phone and call me. And I think one of the other problems is, you know, so let's say you work for a company, you're working at home, you got to ask, you know, your coworker, you know, Fred, you know, what to do, as opposed to getting up, going into the next office, cubicle, whatever. Hey, boom, boom, boom. Now you got to eat. I am them, they got up, this, that, you know, all of this. And I'm a talker. So I can't, I mean, listen, I'm not saying I never wrote a long email, but, you know, I would much rather, that's what I said, at some point, if it's too long, just give me your phone number and let's call. Speak, because I can't.
It's that human connection that's really missing from work.
But it's also communication. I think you're going to communicate a lot easier if you're talking about it than being there trying to write it. And then there's also always that, you know, the tone and all of this. So it's been a really weird ride, but I've had so many conversations with people like, no, nobody's ever going back. We're all going to be like this. I go, no, we're not.
That's very short-sighted. That's very short-sighted.
I completely believe. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens with New York real estate and that.
Well, that's a whole different story. Yeah.
Which is a whole, right. And the economics of that. And, the WeWorks were getting very popular. Plus, the dynamics of people's jobs are changing, right? So, you and I grew up in the more traditional era of accounting and finance and banking and these, all traditional office jobs. Years ago, people started to be bloggers and writers. Right. And there's a lot of tech, and software developers obviously now, and, people that do a lot of graphic designing and whatever, which they just, for the most part, need a good laptop to be able to do their job. So I mean, the jobs themselves have definitely changed.
Well, even the accounting job. I mean, the accounting, I mean, tax returns are done by computers now. You just put in the tax, form, it scans it and then spits out a return. The human just kind of scans it over to make sure that the computer didn't mess up. So I mean, well,
it depends on how,
well, of course, how complicated it is, but for a lot of people, you just scan your forms and then TurboTax says, here's your return. I mean, the fact that you can do that, in auditing, there's a lot of auditing work that's being done by computers.
I'm going to admit, I mean, we've got a few more things other than a 1099. We pay somebody to do it. And my husband's always like, you can't do this. You can't do, I'm like, no, I can't. Right. I tried installing TurboTax. Unless somebody wants to do, I'm not doing it. We're not doing it. I'm very, I know exactly every line on the return and where it comes from and all that. Like, I know all that. I know all the input.
If you don't have to, you don't need to.
But in terms of like the mechanics, and it changes, the forms change, all this stuff. So.
Oh yeah. But the jobs themselves have changed, and the computers are doing more of the work. AI is doing a lot more of the work, and so that means that you have to be more human. You're not going to outsmart the computer, and the computer is the one that does the technical skills. So you need to have the technical skills, certainly to get to the table, if you will, but you're not going to outrun a computer. You're not going to out technical skill it, but what you can do is out human it. And so, because computers will never be able to be human. So, if you have some information that you need to convey to someone, a computer will just say, blah, here it is. And it's like, well, maybe we should take a little bit more of a nice tone to it and understand, be a little empathetic, to their situation or what have you. And so that's where being human is, in that communication and that interpersonal skills. And that's where your and creates those connections. You're not creating a connection as an accountant and a client, or as a lawyer and a client, or as a banker and someone that, a customer. You're creating those connections as humans. And that has nothing to do with your technical skills. I'm going to assume that you're good at your job, because you're getting paid. So like, you don't have to keep telling me how good you are at it. Like, I don't care. Actually now I believe that you're trying to convince yourself. I think you suck at your job now. The more you talk about it, the more I think you suck. And so like,
you're fired. Right.
Yeah, I'm firing you. I don't even know where you work. Like, but and so I think, it's just bringing that human side to work is really important. And I think a lot of us forget about that. And so that's why, the book it's science and research based. It's not just my story, John Garrett did this and blah. It's like, no, like, this is our story. And once you read it, you get permission, you understand it, then you start to wonder, like, what have I been doing? Like, why haven't I shared this or found out from the people around me?
It's really very inspirational. I have to tell you, it sort of gave me pause to remember why I got into this in the first place.
Yeah, well, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah,
because I really sincerely mean it. It was just it was really a great read, and I admire you for writing a book. So what was that like? And this is your first book?
Oh yeah, this is crazy. Writing a book is insane.
What was the impetus to do that? Yeah, that's a job in and of itself.
Oh yeah, no, it's very hard. And so actually the book came out September 15th, and Facebook memory reminded me a week later that's when I started. I flew my content editor out here, and he and I sat in a conference room for 4.5 8-hour days of just a week straight of hammering out what this book's about and who's it for and what's it going to look like and the structure and all that. And, I'm a big proponent of there's plenty of books out there. So I didn't need to I didn't need to add to the pile. When somebody's like, oh, here's my leadership book. Oh, well, there's already 1 billion. So like, why is yours different? It's not. So, and so that's why, I was really careful to be like, okay, this is a message that no one's telling. This is something that's out there that no one's reading about. It's not being written about. And so it needs to be written about. So then people can share it, people can read it, people that haven't heard me speak. And so then it just was like, all right, I got to do it. And it was 2 years of writing and editing. And, there was a little bit there where I had to take care of my parents. So it might've been, more like 1.5 years of actually working, but it's very much like set up the structure beforehand and then just write without editing, which is really hard to do when you're a comedian, because that critic filter is very, very strong in a comedian, almost debilitating. And so it's just write. And then it's a momentum thing. Just write a little bit every day. It's how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time kind of concept. And you just keep writing. And then you get a team of people around you that know what they're doing. And so they take the bricks that you give them and then they build, a masterpiece. And, but it's definitely the vision that I had. I wanted it to be micro chapters. People are not readers anymore. I wanted them to be, each chapter is between 2 paragraphs and 4 pages. That's max. So, you have time. Oh yeah, I got time to read another page. Okay. And then put the bookmark in and then, and it's very conversational. I don't use big words. It's not educated. Like you're learning on accident, type of a thing. And I want it to be enjoyable. So many books that I have in my bookshelf, I have bookmarks halfway through and I'm not going to finish them.
Me too.
Like I'm just not. Like you wrote this book in a way that makes me not want to read it. And that's the dumbest thing. Why'd you write this? I'm not going to finish it. The greatest compliment I get is from people that say, I'm not a reader and I just so enjoyed reading this cover to cover. Like I got an email from somebody that opened the book, started to read it. And he's like, 2 hours later, I accidentally read the whole thing. And this was amazing. I can't remember the last book I finished.
Did you have a publisher already, or did you have the idea and then you went to somebody? How
so you have the idea, and then I went to the publisher with here's the concept, and here's what it is. And page 2 works a lot with I guess thought leaders, speaker types that have a unique message to bring to the world. And so page 2 was all about it because they're like, no one's writing about this. No one's doing this. And so that was cool. And then, and then it's going from there, so there's page 2 is kind of a hybrid publisher. So there's traditional publishers like Wiley's and Penguins and those, and that they give you a little bit of money up front as an advance, but then they control everything. So they control the deadlines, they control the cover. If you're like, I don't like red, and they're like, well, the cover is going to be red. And then you have to go schlep a book that you hate the cover. Or maybe they're like, you know what, chapter 7, we don't really like it, so we're taking it out. And you're like, that's my favorite one. And they're like, well, sorry. And, and so, so there's that. But there is some clout that comes with being published by a traditionally published, a publishing house, which, there is something to that. And then there's going 100% self-publishing.
Right,
and then so page 2 is a version of down the middle, where it's a hybrid. There are people that came from traditional publishing to create this because they realized that when it comes to the books, even if you do traditional publishing, you still have to sell the book as the author.
Right.
So they can get them into all the bookstores, but if no one knows about them, then it doesn't matter. And so as the author, you still have to sell the book. You have to have a following. You have to have a platform to get it out there. And so they realize that speakers are the ones that sell the most books. They're getting audiences. They're in front of the most people. They're spreading the word. And so that's why they created page 2, was for that. And so, the feedback has been just amazing, and your kind words have been really awesome. And I didn't ever grow up wanting to write a book. So the fact that, people are liking it is really fantastic. Yeah.
I completely agree with that person. I also sat down to read it. I will tell you this. I love a traditional book. And, but I have become a very, very lazy reader, and I do not read. Like I have so many books here on this book that I have not read. That I'm not read, and I'm embarrassed. And when back in the day when we used to have fun, I would go on vacation, and I would bring books with me, like hardcover books. Like the suitcase weighed more because of the books, not my makeup. And when we still go on vacation, I still bring all these books, but we tend to go on like family vacations with the kids and this, that, or whatever. So, with my sister's kids. So I wind up never having the time to do that. And I forget when I do sit down and I read, first of all, how much it relaxes me. And we spend so much time on the screen. So you were kind enough to send me a reader's copy, which I read off the screen. Which and I appreciate that and thank you. But I have to tell you, for everybody, and I know the Kindle and not schlepping the book, and it's easier, and I get all that. I'm not disagreeing. But honestly, when you travel, that probably is more the way to go than me bringing the books, so that when I get to the airport, I have to take half of them out because my bag weighs too much. Right. And then put them in my purse. But to me, and again, old school, but there's something about sitting down and turning the pages and having it in your hand, and also just for your eyes and just reading it that way, because we're on the screens so much as it is. So I think it's awesome. And the book, like I saw it. I mean, it's great. It looks beautiful. I love the big
thanks
and stuff. So
that's
great.
Oh, thank you. And there's a lot of white space there, so it gives your brain time to breathe. You turn the page, and it's not just another wall of text coming right at you. It's oh wow, okay, and there's room to take some notes, and you can it's been really amazing seeing the pictures of the book that people are sending in of just Post-it notes and tabs like sticking out of it all over the place, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. It's 200 pages, but it's not a huge book, but it's really jam-packed. I get so frustrated with these books that are just fluff. And it's like, why is this 12 chapters? It should have been 7. And like, this is dumb.
Or repetitive. It's
exactly.
Wait a minute. I just read that like 20 pages ago, didn't I?
Exactly. And it's because their publisher put the pressure on them to make it this long. And I just, I trim the fat in the comedy world. Do we trim the fat? Just here's the meat. Boom. Here it is.
Less is more, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Give us all of your social media, where we can buy the book, the whole bit.
Well, the easiest for all of that is just whatsyourand.com. So whatsyourand.com. My podcast is there. The book is there. All the social media icons are there as well. Twitter, Instagram. The What's Your And Instagram is so awesome because see these professionals outside of work, ballroom dancing, on a horse, painting, making kombucha. Like when you see their faces, they're all alive and smiling. And then if you go find their headshot on their firm or company website, not smiling, and it's so funny to me, but it's just really cool to see when you scroll down that it's kind of like the Humans of New York, sort of, but people that are in the office, and and so it's just cool to see people alive and happy, and whatsyourand.com. It's all there. So, so I appreciate it.
John Garrett, or
thejohngarrett.com also. There's John Garrett's a pretty common name, so I had to go the John Garrett. 2 R's, 2 T's. But thejohngarrett.com as well, and that'll bring you also to the same page. So
John.
Look at that old picture. That is old. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. I forgot all about that.
Your phone number. Well, you gave me the card.
So. It's fine. It's on my website.
All right. Listen, everybody, Get the book. Get the book. What's Your And by John Garrett. What's Your And? A-N-D. Okay.
Yeah.
I know I got my New York accent going on.
There you go.
Just a real pleasure. I'm so glad we got to do this. Hang on, though, because once we're done, I'm going to talk to you. I am Ellen Karis. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Greek Chick Comic. Facebook, Ellen Karis, Greek Goddess of Comedy. Or just go to my website, ellenkaris.com, ELLENKARIS. And thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for listening. Always appreciate it. Until next time, bye.
Great. Thanks, Ellen.
All right.